This is a story called For the Love of a Child. Teresa and Scott are a couple of 12-year-olds who have been best friends all of their lives. Now they are boyfriend and girlfriend for the first time. Of course, their parents are convinced it's just puppy love and it won't last. However, a year later they're still together and showing no sign of ending things. By the time they start sixth form at 16 years old, they've been together for 4 years and are still going strong. Of course, they both have different dreams and ambitions, and they want to do different things with their lives. Teresa wants to be a doctor and is due to start medical school as soon as she turns 18, and Scott's joined the police force. About 3 years later, Teresa discovers that she's pregnant with twin girls, and the couple choose to call them Patsy and Palmer. However, Teresa goes into complication after giving birth to the twins, hemorrhages, and almost bleeds to death. Thankfully, the doctors manage to stop the bleeding and save her life, thankfully with no lasting damage. However, when the twins are a year old, the couple decide to get married and to try for another baby. Their wedding goes without hitch and their day is very magical and special. 6 months later, Teresa discovers that she's pregnant again. However, 5 months into her pregnancy, Teresa starts to feel ill. She wakes up one night during the night feeling wet and in a great deal of pain. When she looks, she's hemorrhaging again. She wakes up Scott with her screaming and then she becomes unconscious. Scott phones for an ambulance and then he calls his parents to come and look after the twins. Teresa was rushed to hospital where sadly her baby girl Lily Mae is stillborn. The doctors struggle to stop the bleeding and they have no choice but to perform a hysterectomy. This meant that Teresa will never be able to have any more children, leaving the couple devastated. The doctors tell the couple that they can use a surrogate or they can adopt. They send them away so that they can decide what they want to do. As soon as Teresa's well enough, they cremate their baby girl Lily Mae and they build a memorial garden for her. 6 months later, the couple applies to adopt and they're very excited at the prospect of bringing a new child into their lives. Of course, the twins are too young to understand about adoption, but they understand that they're going to be big sisters. About 4 months later, after putting their names down for adoption, the couple receive the news that a baby girl has become available. It turns out that the baby's parents are in no position to look after her, as the mum's only just turned 17 and can't look after her. Her dad isn't interested, so they put the baby up for adoption. The girl wants to keep her baby, but she has no support as her parents are very strict Catholics. As soon as Scott and Teresa meet the baby girl, they're beside with her, and they decide to call her Rosabella Isla. In no time at all, they're allowed to take her home for good. The couple decide not to tell her that she's adopted until the time is right and she's old enough to understand. However, when Rosabella's 11, her natural mother somehow gets their phone number. She constantly rings their house demanding to see Rosabella, but Scott and Teresa don't want her to have any kind of contact with her. One night when she's supposed to be in bed, Rosabella comes downstairs. As she does so, the phone rings. Her dad answers it and she hears him say, "You're not seeing her, and if you don't stop ringing this house, we'll call the police." Then he put the phone down and Rosabella said, Who was that, Dad? What are you doing out of bed, young lady? You know you're supposed to be in bed by 8:30 on a school night, said Teresa. I came down to get a glass of water. Who was Dad talking to on the phone? Said Rosabella. It's just a prank caller, nothing to worry about. Come on, go back to bed. You are school in the morning, said Teresa. Rosabella pretended to go back to bed, but instead she sat on the stairs listening to her parents talking, and she heard her dad say, I think it's time that we tell Rosabella that she's adopted and her real mum wants to have access to her. If we don't, she'll find out soon, sooner or later. Yes, I know you're right, even though it'll break her heart, said Teresa. The next day when Rosabella got up, her parents sat her down and her dad said, Sweetheart, we have something important that we need to tell you. It's okay, Dad. I know I'm adopted. I heard you and Mum talking last night. Why did my other parents keep me? Didn't they love me? Said Rosabella. Rosabella, darling, your parents were very young when they had you and they were both on drugs. Your mum's parents were very strict Catholics. If they'd have found out about you, they would have disowned her and she wouldn't have been allowed to keep you anyway. We'll talk about this properly tonight, but right now you need to go to school, said Teresa. At lunchtime, Rosabella and her friends left the school to go to the fish shop. As soon as they did, a strange lady approached Rosabella and said, Do you know who I am, Rosabella? No, I've never seen you before in my life. My name's Louise and I'm your real mum. Oh yeah, my parents told me about you. Look, let's go over to the cafe and talk over there, said Louise. That day Rosabella didn't go back to school and she didn't go home either until the next day. As you can imagine, her parents were frantic with worry. A few days later, Louise and her partner tried to drag her into their car against her will. Some kids saw what was going on and some of them went over to help her and the others went into school to get help. The teachers came out to help her and someone called the police. Louise and her partner Carl were arrested. They were told in court that they weren't allowed any form of contact with Rosabella. They were told that if she wanted to contact them when she was 18, then that was up to her. Life went back to normal and Rosabella put the ordeal behind her, and she vowed that she wanted nothing to do with her real parents ever. However, her real mum's parents found out about her and they wanted to see her. She met up with them and it turned out that they weren't strict Catholics at all. They hadn't spoke to Louise in over 13 years because of the trouble she'd caused the whole family. They fell in love with Rosabella and they had regular contact with her. It turned out that Rosabella's birth father had no idea that she existed until Louise's parents told him. He was nothing like Louise had said. He was a loving man with his own garage business, a wife and 6 beautiful kids. When he found out about Rosabella, he was devastated that he'd missed so much of her life. However, he was determined to make up for lost time. As soon as he met her, he fell in love with her. He told her that he didn't even know that Louise was pregnant. If he'd have known, he would have brought her up himself. He would never have put her up for adoption. From the day they met, Rosabella and her birth dad Paul became very close, and it was the same when she met his kids. They kept in regular contact and saw each other every day. It also turned out that she had a lot of cousins, aunties, uncles and grandparents she knew nothing about. Eventually they all met and they all got on exceptionally well and everyone adored Rosabella. It even turned out that her best friend was one of her cousins. The end, finally.